Alex here with Patterns for Pirates. On the second video of this blog post, I wanted to talk to you about buttonholes, which can be intimidating with less practice. But once you get the hang of it, you will see that buttonholes are not that difficult. Basically, what I feel like it's the most important thing to do when you plan on adding buttonholes is to make sure you interface your fabric, whether you're using knit or woven. In my case is woven, but even if it was especially if it was knit, but on both situations, always interface your fabric when you plan on doing buttonholes or snaps or buttons. It will add the stability that you need. It will help with less fraying or tearing in the fabric. So definitely use a lightweight interfacing, but it will make a world of a difference. So I have mine already interfaced. I have my buttons sewn already on this side. And using the guide, I've already put my markings. Using the button guide, which is for a 1/2 inch button, which is exactly what I used. I put my markings on the wearer's left side because I'm making a shirt for a boy. On the wearer's left side, it's where I'll put my buttonholes, and on the wearer's right side is where I've already added my buttons. So I made my button markings. You can see here. 1, 2. This will be my buttonhole. 1, 2. This will be my buttonhole, and so on and so forth about 8 times. This is my buttonhole. Here, 1 dot and another dot, and this will be my buttonhole, and so on. So I've already done my markings. I do my buttonholes with my buttonhole foot, which most likely came with your machine. I do believe that most machines do include nowadays buttonhole foot. If it doesn't, they're easily available and you can find them on eBay, on Amazon, 2-day shipping. It doesn't have to be a brand name as long as it matches your shank, whether it's low or high shank. I highly suggest investing in a buttonhole foot. This way you can use your sewing machine. Super easy to add buttons. A different way to do buttonholes if you don't have a buttonhole foot would be to use just a regular zigzag stitch and do everything manually, so to speak, in between the 2 markings. Make a longer zigzag stitch, then come down with a short zigzag stitch, a long zigzag stitch, and then come up with a short one. And it gave you the same effect of a buttonhole foot that a buttonhole foot would give you. And you do it just with your regular presser foot. It is more complicated because you have to make sure you keep the distance space. That's why I'm saying it's definitely worth investing in a buttonhole foot. A third way to do buttonholes, and I've done that before, but I'm slightly lazier right now because I don't want to set up my machine to the embroidery unit. If you do use a separate embroidery machine versus and a separate sewing machine, that's one thing you might consider. There's plenty of free files out there that will do embroidery, that would do buttonhole with your embroidery machine. You will just hoop it like you do normally with an adhesive hoop backing, so it stays there, and it will do your buttonholes as an embroidery file. I find that to be super easy, obviously, because you don't do much, but it's also more complicated because you need to set up your machine and your hoops and so on and so forth. The easiest way is definitely to use this foot. Definitely worth buying. So I'm gonna move you guys to my sewing machine and show you how easy it is to do button holes with your machine. So let's move to the settings. I have mine set right now to an M foot, which is the button attachment foot, and the button stitch. I'm going to select one of the buttonhole stitches. As you can see, there's quite a few of them that you can choose from. My favorite one is actually the simplest one. This is my favorite one, which is like an oval shaped. You can do a rectangle shape, you can do a fancier shape. All of this will do buttonholes in different shapes. I like to stick to a basic one because that gives me less chance of an error, and I really don't need a fancy buttonhole. So once you've changed your machine, you see it changes your foot to A, which is the foot that we will be using, the A foot. So I'm going to go ahead and change that on my machine too. I changed my thread to a white thread. Obviously, the better you match your thread to your fabric, the less visible will be any errors that may occur. And what you need, very important to remember, is that this foot has a super nice quality to it, in which it will tell you, it will decide the length of the hole just simply by match with your button, just simply by putting your button in the slot here. So by putting the button in the slot here and leave one extra button that's the same size and shape obviously as the ones I've used on the shirt, by placing it there, it basically tells my foot that I need a buttonhole that is half an inch, which will match my button. So if I use a bigger button, this is slightly bigger, same thing, I press it here, get it fixed there so it doesn't fall, and now the buttonhole will match my button. It's not the one I want right now, but you get the idea. Once you place a button here, it tells the machine how big to make the buttonhole. So I like to put one there and just leave it there until I'm done, because I have quite a few buttonholes to make. I have a low shank machine, so pretty easy to interchange your buttonhole fit between machines. Like I have a baby lock and a brother, and they're interchangeable. So you don't need more than one if all your machines have the same low shank. So this is my shirt. I'm gonna start from the button down, or even the middle, it doesn't matter. I have my markings, one mark here, one mark here. I know that I want my buttonhole in between. So I place my shirt, and on the buttonhole, on the button hole foot, you will see 3 dots that indicate where you want, where the machine will start sewing. So you want that to be matched with the sign that the signs you've already placed on your fabric. So I have 2. I know I want to start on this one, and it will end on the other side. Don't forget to lower your buttonhole level. And now your machine is all set to the buttonholes. And again, this is something, it's like the button stitch. This is something that your machine will do more or less by itself. So I have my foot there. I'm basically guiding the fabric to make sure it doesn't shift, but other than that, the machine will do the work by itself. As you can see, I can even take my hands off, and it does everything that's supposed to do. It goes back and forth, doing a very narrow zigzag stitch. So this type of look can be achieved even if you don't have a button. As you can see, I'm doing nothing. My hands are not even touching the fabric. this type of look can be achieved without the buttonhole foot if you do very narrow and very tight zigzag stitches in one of the shapes that I've shown you before. So you can pick a shape and do a very narrow zigzag stitch and you will be achieving the same look. Obviously it's easier with the buttonhole foot. So we have our buttonhole made right here. So what we need to do is our last step is seam rip it in between the top and the bottom so the button can actually go through it. So I'm placing the top of my seam ripper here and carefully, without poking me, going all the way to the other side, making sure that you do not clip your threads, the ones that you just sewn. So I've snipped it. Obviously I'm going to clean the threads a little bit. You can put some fray stop if you want in here. I find that after a couple of washes it will look perfect, so I don't bother with the fray stop, but if you want you can do that. So here is the one buttonhole already done. There you go. And I'll take the button on the other side and button it up so you see how easy it is. So I like to exercise. First time it might go a little harder, but once you do this a few times, put the button through the holes, it will go super fast, you will see. So you will be doing the same thing over and over and over again with all your buttonhole markings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think in my case. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 buttonholes because I have 8 buttons. These are on the vertical. Traditionally, if you do decide to add a button to the collar, traditionally the buttonhole on the actual collar will be horizontal instead of vertical if you want to keep the rules. I'm probably not even going to add a button there, but if you do, these buttons we do vertically, these buttonholes, and this will be horizontal. Same thing if you were to be doing the long sleeve option with the cuff, again those will be horizontal. So as you can see, doing buttonholes super easy. Highly recommend investing in a buttonhole foot and keep sewing those buttonholes, whether they're for dress shirts or a Henley or a brunch blouse. And always don't forget to tag me or comment if you have any questions. Talk to you guys later. Bye.